In the Onuma system, there's built-in reporting and settings that can create different types of reports. So for example, if I go to the report button here, I'm at the building level. I can also go back up to the site level and look at different buildings as well, or multiple buildings. But in this particular building, if I click Building Report, it's generating a summary of cost, construction, total estimated cost, construction, total areas, total net area, gross area, even some early utility summary calculations for electrical loads, operations and maintenance costs. These can all be adjusted in the settings. And then a floor-by-floor summary, for example, of departments. So if we go to the first floor, you can see it broken up by departments and total area per that department. Or it can be in a pie chart, and you can also enlarge this and look at it in different views. So there's many different ways of viewing the same data, either graphically or in tabular format. If we hit the back button, the next report would be a building cost estimate report. This is a more detailed report. Still at the conceptual level, though, we're using square footage. This is based on net or gross. In this one, it's looking at gross, I believe. And there's a value associated with that. And you can add additional items, like this one was added as additional items. You can add additional line items to any of this. And then it summarizes the total down below. So this is completely customizable, built in within Onuma. Hit the back button again. Attribute groups are the color-coded attributes that we see on the right. If we just leave them all selected and say Show Report, it generates a report of each space by floor, listed down below. And if I click on the heading up here and click Department, for example, it's going to sort it by department. So all the allergy immunization departments, it's aggregating the total up here. Same thing with bioenvironmental engineering, per space, and then totaled, and on down the line. You could also collapse this by saying hide spaces and just give me a summary of the departments. So it's hiding the individual spaces but giving me the summary, and at the very bottom there's also a total square meter. And it's also giving me a preliminary wall area calculation. Same thing for room code. If I click on room code, it's just sorting it in different ways and showing the totals based on those room codes. BMCW1, these are the totals there, and so on. So you can completely customize you could add other attributes, change the different sorting. So there's a lot that you can do within Onuma. So if we hit the back button, we go back to the overall group, and there's other reports like attachments. If there's images and other files attached to this project, I don't believe there are in this one. No, this one's blank. We haven't attached anything yet. And uniform map, personal, there's a lot. So go ahead and explore all this. There's lead reports, energy reports, etc. You can go into individual spaces too if there are equipment. So for example, dental surgeon here, office, there's 15 pieces of equipment. It's going down to the light receptacles, and if there's a cost associated with it. So you can really get very detailed if you want, or you could keep it very high level. All of these settings, the reports are built in, so there's a lot that you can do with the built-in reporting. And there's also the export functionality that we showed earlier, that you can export data and do other things with it. So you can export Excel files and generate your own layouts, for example. So if you want to export a spreadsheet of spaces or components, for example, if you want to get all the electrical outlets in all the rooms and all the mechanical equipment or all the chairs, it creates a component list in Excel. Basically goes to the server, grabs the data, creates an Excel file, downloads it on your desktop, and you can format it any way you want from there on. So that's the concept of these exporting functionality and the reports. You can also adjust the settings. So if you go to the settings tab, all of the assumptions, for example, of cost or areas, this is a square, the area in this particular building could be calculated by the outline floor slab for the gross area, or you can go to individual spaces and get a net to gross factor if you're in early planning. And you can also change the utility, the energy calculations per square foot here, for example, in the operations and maintenance cost. And then if you go to cost estimate, all of the settings for the cost estimate that we saw in the more detailed report are here, where you can adjust them if you have the right to edit. You can change the cost per square meter from $2,500 to $2,900 a square meter, and the updates the subtotal here, and then continues on down to update the total. So this is all in real time on the fly as you're changing factors, and obviously there's only a certain level of detail that we're going to on the cost estimating to get you within range, and then you can connect to other systems to do some more detailed estimating. For example, we connected to DProfiler and did a back and forth study with DProfiler on how you can do more detailed estimates based on the layout of this building. So that's the cost estimating and reporting. There's a lot more functionality in the settings you can explore on your own. Another interesting note here is we're looking only at one building, but if we go back up to our project list and we expand the projects that we worked on earlier, on the left side there's a checkbox. You can actually say, okay, I want to look at this project, and this last one we were looking at with spaces, and it's going to actually cut across these projects, and you do reporting on the upper right here. So you could say compare these schemes, hit the compare button, and you can compare entire sites, or let's look at individual buildings. There are 3 buildings here, so if we go 3 buildings, and each column here is a building side by side with total area. Some of them are in square feet, some of them are square meter, depending on how that project was set up. And then the energy calculations and other information that is a part of that project. So you can start doing cross-cutting to compare different variations of the scheme as you work through the design process. There's a lot more reporting that can be done at this level and looking at it in 3D, but that's basically the reporting, introduction to the reporting functionality within Onuma.